I'm going to show you how to build a do-it-yourself washer fire pit. I am using an old washer tub out of a Speed Queen washer. Luckily, I work for an appliance repair company, and this washer I got after one of my jobs. Now, if you don't have that as your luxury, you can contact a local repair company and see if they have any old washer tubs handy that you can get from them, or find an old washer and take the tub out of it. It might be a little bit of a hassle, but once you get a new tub or a used tub, you will see how to build this washer. Now, you could make it a permanent fire pit with some concrete blocks around it and everything. With me, I want to have one that's portable, so I can have it on my patio for a small fire when it's just me, my wife, and my daughter, or one I could bring out to the yard when I want to have a larger fire with family. So I will show you here what all needs to be done. Okay, so here is the old Speed Queen washer inner tub. Now, this is stainless steel. Was used out of a fairly new machine. Needed a new tub, so I got this perfect looking tub to use. Here's the things I bought to do my job. So for the legs, I'm using a 1/2 inch diameter, 12-inch length black pipe to attach it to the tub. I have a 1/2 inch flange. Attaching that is a 1/2 inch 90-degree elbow, and at the end of the pipe we'll have this cap to keep it from getting clogged. Now, I have this 28 gauge steel sheet metal that I'm going to use to cut a circle to fill that hole right there, so I can not have an open hole at the bottom. Now, I got some different hardware here. These larger bolts are perfect size and nuts to mount this flange to the side of the tub, which I will show you how I am going to do that. I have these other screws. I didn't know how long to get them, so I just got some 2-inch screws with nuts to mount the circle plate to the bottom of the tub. I got some washers to make sure the holes and everything were nice and covered, get a good fit. Now, before I fully assemble, I'm going to spray paint the outside with some Rust-Oleum high heat flat black paint. Now, this is 4 grills, and it's resistant to heat up to 1200 degrees, which I don't think I'll have a problem there. So let's get started on pre-assembly before we paint. One thing I did fail to mention is the price. So of course, like I said, the tub was free. For all my parts, between the paint, the piping, the sheet metal, the screws, and all the hardware, I end up spending about 65 bucks. So not bad price for a fire pit that I think will be very nice quality once we're done. Just wanted to put that in there before moving on. I am going to line this up to where the flange attaches about midway to keep this about 5-6 inches off the ground. I don't think it needs to be too tall, but enough to where it's not too close to the ground. So what I'll end up doing is trying to line up these holes as close as I can to this flange, so it makes my drilling a little easier. Now, sizing out these screws, I did purchase some 1/2 inch 20 by 1 inch screws from Home Depot. Now, I found a 1564 bit that looks to be perfect size to drill holes in this tub to make the screw holes. So let's get to it. Putting this flange up, luckily, look at those holes, they almost line up perfect. So what I'll do is I'll just try to get these lined up perfectly and drill out that hole to make it fit those screws. Now, I guess I could have gotten smaller screws so I didn't have to drill it out, but it seemed like these screws fit the flange pretty well. They sit flush and perfect. So I went with this size screw. I don't mind doing a little drilling to make it sit flush and a lot better look. So off camera, what I did is take my drill, line it up, and put the first screw hole there. Just drill it straight through. Took a little bit of pressure, but it wasn't that big of a deal. So I got the one screw there to hold it in place. So what I would do is take this, and so now I got the second screw hole there. I'm keep putting this screw in place so that way all my holes line up. So the next hole I will drill out will be this one, and to make sure it doesn't get out of line, I will keep that right there and drill that hole out.
Hi.
That's my daughter. She was saying hi. And please ignore the background noise. I live next to a highway. Luckily it's blocked by those beautiful trees, but I do deal with that noise. Wonderful. Okay, so I got the first flange put in place where it needs to go. Put the washers on there. They do stick out a little bit on the inside, but that's okay because that's where the fire is going to be. No one's going to see that. Who cares, really? Okay, the best way to make sure they're all placed evenly is count the amount of holes from the bottom. So if you look at the bottom screw there is 1, 2, 3, 4 holes below that. So what I'm going to do is come on the opposite side, count up 4 holes, and that should be the bottom screw. Here's one tip when drilling out these holes. If this top hole didn't line up perfect, and trying to drill it out is a little bit of a pain. So what I did is I got a little larger drill bit, and I'm using my drill, and I'm going at an angle to kind of cut a groove down through here. And I did the same thing over here. That way you can make this hole a little larger. I just got it all assembled, not fully tightened down, but just want to see how it looks. Like I said, it's a nice 6 inches or so off the ground. Things are just roughly tightened, not all the way, just enough to hold it to see how it looks. Okay, it's a new day and I am going to move to the next step. Next step is covering this hole. I don't want the fire to fall through onto the ground and have it all open at the bottom. So I want to cut a piece of sheet metal to make that circle. I don't have any special tools to measure and make a perfect circle. So what I did is I found my dog's food bowl, and luckily it fits perfect in that spot. So what I will do is I'm going to put this bowl on top of my sheet metal, trace it out, and cut that out. So now that I got the metal piece cut out just like I want it, I'm gonna tape this in place, flip the tub over, and mark from the inside where the screw holes will be so I can mount this properly to the tub. All right, the next step I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my Dremel and my grinding stone and try to smooth out these edges so they're not so sharp around this circle piece, even though I probably won't touch it, just to be safe. And this edge right here is pretty sharp. That's normally where a customer would not ever touch. So where you don't touch is very sharp. I get cut all the time at work. So that's my next step. Okay, so I got the plate in there and all secured. I used those 2-inch screws with washers. 2 inches was definitely too long. So once I installed them on the back, I used my Dremel cut-off tool and cut them down. So the screws that I got were a number 10 by 24 by 2 inches. So really, a 1-inch screw would have been perfect. I wasn't sure how long to get, so I just grabbed those just to be safe. Next step is to paint the outside. Alrighty folks, here is the finished product. Nice and done. One thing I didn't do is put a primer on the outside before I painted it black. I might regret that in the future. If so, no big deal, I can easily repaint it. Let the inside silver. It's gonna get black and charred anyway from the fire, but I think it turned out pretty well. Nice distance from the ground. It's nice and sturdy. Works well. Here we go. First night of use. I think the thing looks pretty good. All the holes on the side make for a nice little view and give it a lot of oxygen to keep that fire going good. Hope you guys enjoyed this video.